Hello everyone, my name is Roya, and this is Monthly Recommendations, which was created by Between Chapters and Kayla Rain, channel links below. And this is a group that comes up with monthly recommendations to fit whatever the month's theme is. So in honor of it being Valentine's Day, we are recommending books that are not love stories. So, in other words, books that don't have romance in them or that romance is not the focus of them at all. So, I have so many recommendations for this that I ended up having to really narrow it down because there are actually a ton of books that have no romance or very little romance. Firstly, there is The Last Unicorn. So, yes, the unicorn does fall in love, but the love interest of the unicorn does not show up until at least halfway through the book. Probably more than that even. It's a good chunk of the way through the book. And even then, it's very downplayed, and nothing really happens between them. And for a good while, that he is in the book, it's very one-sided because the unicorn doesn't want to be human. She doesn't want to fall in love with him. So she doesn't for like a long time. So then even when she does, they don't, obviously they don't end up together because she's a unicorn. So the love story is a very, very minor part of this. It basically is there just to serve a purpose that's specifically specific to the plot and needed, and not just to be a love story in there. The next two books on this list are also unicorn themed, so I guess just unicorns don't have love interests that much. So the next one is Acorna by Anne McCaffrey, and yes, there is a love interest for Acorna, but they literally, nothing happens. I mean, first of all, he's not in the book until almost the very end, and even then they only have one conversation about their feelings or anything, and nothing happens between them whatsoever. So it may as well not even really be so it's really not a love story at all. And then also one of the three minor dudes who raise Acorna actually does also fall in love with this chick. But again, it's not until the very end, and again, it's very, very downplayed. Although, unlike Acorna's love story that's not really there, Gil's love story that's not really there does have a happy ending in this book. They do end up together, but it's very, very downplayed, and like I said, just doesn't happen for the whole book practically. So yeah, this book is really just about, three dudes who raise this alien baby and all this stuff. It's not, it has nothing to do with love at all. Next, Black Unicorn by Tanith Lee. This is about a girl who basically goes on this crazy adventure because she's led in that direction by a really weird black unicorn that she brings back to life. And basically this is just an adventure story. There is no love interest in here whatsoever. She doesn't even so much as glance at a cute guy or girl or anything. Nothing romantic happens in this book at all, which is really pretty great. It didn't need it at all. Now we are going to talk about my favorite book of all time, Oryx Crake by Margaret Atwood. And in this book, yes, Jimmy is in love with Oryx, obviously, and yes, Crake is also as in love as he can be with Oryx, and they're both sleeping with her even though she really loves Jimmy and all this stuff. But upon rereading this book recently, I've noticed how little of Oryx we actually get in the story. I mean, yes, we get her backstory and everything told in flashback, kind of, but we get no real affair starting between her and Jimmy or her and Craig or anything. He basically is Jimmy's voice of reason throughout the entire thing, and he continues to kind of hear her voice in his head, kind of, or think about her long after she's been dead. But there isn't an actual love story in this at all. The second book in this series does have a lot more of a love subplot, as far as I can remember anyway, but this really doesn't. It's weird. like the first, if I hadn't reread it this year, I would be saying that it did have a love subplot, but upon rereading it, like Oryx is just really not in the story very much. Then we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. And yes, there is a love interest again, but she's barely in the book at all, and nothing ever happens between them at all. And look how thick this is. Like, only a little tiny bit of this book is dedicated to the love interest at all. Like, this is over 700 pages of no love interest, pretty much. And finally, Hyperion by Dan Simmons also has no love interest. There are a lot of characters in this. There's only like one chick, basically, and yes, her backstory does involve falling in love with a dude, but again, that's literally just her backstory, which only is like one chapter. And in most of that chapter, she's not in love with the dude, and barely anything happens between them. So there is pretty much no love story in this whatsoever. Those are the books that I have to recommend you guys that have no love story or very little of a love story in them. So if you're looking for some non-love related books to read this Valentine's Day, you should totally check those out because they are all fantastic. Let me know what books you like that don't have a love story in them, and I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!